So anyways, as I was saying, yeah, pretty much. Let's get back to it.
Chord. 440 hertz, and the F engineers have determined.
I'm sorry, did it reset or not? Did it reset or not? I don't know. Fuck. Wow. Gotcha, cat. Wow, it's your fault. It's your fault. Wow. No, sometimes I always keep Streamlabs up and sometimes it'll just close. I have no idea why, but sometimes Streamlabs will just crash. It pisses me off. Damn. Yep. It do be fucking annoying. Okay. Alright. Probably spin it back now.
Determined the gallery resonates at 440 hertz and naturally emits an F-sharp chord. 440 hertz and the F-sharp chord have been connected to a lot of woo-woo ideas, but there's a reason for that. It's considered a sound that resonates in harmony with the Earth. The builders of the pyramid knew this. Longtime Mac users will recognize this sacred chord. At the top of the gallery is a small shaft leading to the king's chamber. The opening is 8.4 by 4.8 inches. This is the perfect size for hydrogen microwaves to pass into the king's chamber, which also resonates at 440 hertz and F-sharp. Above the king's chamber are 5 layers of granite beams, stacked and separated by air gaps. This is called the relieving chamber because it was believed that this interior structure relieved the weight of the pyramid. That's not what it does. The beams are smooth on 3 sides, but rough cut on the top. Christopher Dunn believes the reason for the rough cut is this is how the beams were tuned. The builders could vibrate the granite beams and slowly chip away at the stone until they resonated with an F-sharp chord, which they do. Yeah, the king's chamber is what's known as a Helmholtz resonator. When you blow air across the top of a bottle and create sound, that's a Helmholtz resonator. Change the volume of liquid in the bottle, or change the volume of stone within the chamber, you change the pitch. The entire complex is a giant musical instrument. Now, some skeptics reluctantly agree that the Great Pyramid has musical properties. But for skeptics to consider the pyramid as a power plant, they would need evidence to show that a giant stone pyramid would respond to electromagnetic energy. There was no evidence of that until 2018. Whether true or not, it's scientifically possible that the Great Pyramid was a structure for creating, harnessing, and focusing energy. The exterior was made of material.
Now, let me break that down for a second. Well, he just said that whether you believe it or not, it's scientifically proven that it could have. Now, that's interesting. Like, without trying to spin any sort of fucking conspiracy or crazy ass theory like aliens built the pyramids or anything like that, right? Even if people did that, that is fucking amazing. Whether or not they knew that it could generate energy or what, that's still crazy to think about. It's not alive. Hell Let Loose, taking it easy today. I'm not really playing Hell Let Loose, but we're just hanging in there. Chill last time.
That insulates electricity. The interior was made of material that conducts electricity. The chambers were made of material that creates electricity. The next piece of evidence is the pyramid's ability to focus EM energy. In 2018, scientists used radio waves at different frequencies to see if the Great Pyramid would interact with electromagnetic waves of a resonant length. Their experiments proved that in a resonant state, the pyramid can concentrate electromagnetic energy in the internal chambers as well as under its base. Resonance in the pyramid can be induced by radio waves with the lengths ranging from 200 to 600 meters. The closer to 200 meters, the more dramatic the effect. A year after that, in 2019, Eric Wilson published a paper called A Large-Scale Thermal Acoustic Generator. The paper describes how, when granite and other rocks are vibrated, electrons will migrate through the rock and up to the surface. By combining science and music, the builders of the pyramid created a power-generating machine tuned to the natural harmonic of the Earth's vibration that primarily comes from the tidal energy.
We're just watching his most popular videos right now, but one of my favorite videos of his that is not as popular as it should be is his video on killer patents. Like, if you don't know what a patent is, pretty much like if you invent something, you patent it so that nobody else can build anything like it, and you have to charge, or you can charge anybody who builds anything close to what you made. Right, that's a patent. And pretty much the government has a secret patents, right? Like generators that can run off plastic, generators that can run off of air, water, generators that can run off of the exhaust fumes of their own, like, engine. Right? All the stuff you've seen on TikTok, probably. But all of these things are already patented by the U.S. government because they figured all this shit out like 100 years ago, and they made these patents, and then they redacted them. They made it private, right? Because if the patents are public, then the Soviets might find out or something. But that means that if some unfortunate 19-year-old kid in his garage makes his local news that he made an engine that can run off of his trash, it's crazy. Well, he's gonna go missing. That or his life's gonna be ruined, you know what I mean? It's crazy to think about.
Created by the moon's gravity.
Bro, anytime I start talking about this stuff, I sound crazy, but if you, there's an engine for anti-gravity, and it's called a 0-point engine. It's a real thing. You can look it up. It's patented by the U.S. government, and pretty much all it is you revolve mercury. Well, you have to magnetize mercury, which isn't that complicated if you fucking have the money to do all that. But then you just spin it around really fast. You spin mercury around really fast, and it can make things float. No gravity. Fucking move how the UFOs do. It's crazy. Alright, anyways, let me unpause this.
Technology created thousands of years ago could generate unlimited clean energy. But how did they get the energy out? That brings us back to Tesla. His Wardenclyffe Tower was built on top of an aquifer, with copper and iron rods extending down into the water. When electricity was sent into the tower, it was to be transmitted around the world through the atmosphere. The pyramid is also built on an aquifer, and copper pipes and iron rods have recently been discovered there. If the capstone was made of gold, the energy concentrated inside the pyramid would have been drawn to the top and transmitted to the atmosphere. Tesla's wireless power distribution system used the resonance of the Earth, just like the pyramid. And just like the pyramid, the energy generated by Tesla's tower would be unlimited, clean, and virtually free for...
I'm just a guy. I have no idea how it works. I just know that that's the main, patent. If you start experimenting with spinning mercury around so fast that it can make something levitate, you will go missing. But it's real. It's crazy to think about. The Nazis started it with the bell. Le Glock or some shit. Whatever they called it in their language. It's called the bell in our language. Just look up the Nazi bell. The Nazis made a UFO using revolving mercury. It's insane. There's so many little deep rabbit holes. I'm not crazy. This shit's real. The CIA dropped real documents on this shit. Yeah, dude. I sound crazy. Like whenever I meet a girl and we start talking and she's like, "Oh, what are you into? Fucking, what are you into?" Oh, dude, I just can't start talking about this because then I'll sound crazy. But it doesn't matter. I'm streaming right now. This is my chat. Like, fucking shit be making you think, man. Like, we literally could be having flying cars, bro. But I don't know why. Like, I get it. We gotta keep burning fossil fuels because then we can go to war for it. And war makes millionaires a lot of money. But it's like, bro, why can't we just go to space and have space war? Like, come on. Wouldn't that make more money? I'm not evil. I'm just trying to think from their perspective. Like, what could I? I'm gonna go for senator, and I'm gonna be like, hey, let's bring the worst to space, yo. Just saying, like, it'd be way more interesting. Well, fucking, I don't even need a gun for space, bro. I'll bring a slingshot. I don't need a gun. I'll do it with a pitchfork.
Everyone on the planet, but Tesla's tower was destroyed by outside forces. There's evidence that the Great Pyramid was destroyed from within. In the year 1900, Nikola Tesla convinced J.P. Morgan to fund a project to create a wireless communication system. When Tesla received the funding, he decided to scale up the project. Rather than transmit messages around the world, he would transmit power. Tesla had already demonstrated that wireless power would work on a small scale. He famously had light bulbs scattered on the ground that would illuminate when a Tesla coil was activated nearby. Now he wanted to go bigger. He explained this world-changing technology to J.P. Morgan and asked him for more money to complete the project. Rather than support Tesla, Morgan pulled his funding, claiming breach of contract. J.P. Morgan owned General Electric, which would be made obsolete. He owned AT&T, which would also become obsolete. J.P. Morgan owned copper mines all over the world, and his factories generated miles of copper wire. J.P. Morgan owned rubber farms and factories that created insulation for wire. He owned steel companies and factories that built power generators. He owned timber mills that created telegraph and electricity poles. He owned coal mines that fueled existing power plants. And he owned 24 railroads that transported all these resources around the country. None of this would be necessary if Tesla created free, unlimited wireless power. For several years, Tesla wrote J.P. Morgan almost every month, begging him to reconsider. He wouldn't. Instead, J.P. Morgan chose to finance Tesla's competitors, Edison and Marconi, who were improving on and getting rich from Tesla's inventions. And not only did J.P. Morgan refuse any further investment, but he also put out word to everyone in the wealthy investor class that Tesla should be avoided. He was essentially blacklisted. By 1915, Tesla had accumulated so much debt that the bank foreclosed on the Wardenclyffe property. The tower was demolished in 1917 and sold for scrap. The project was never completed. Tesla was a genius, but he was at a disadvantage. Men like Edison and Marconi knew how to bring Tesla's inventions to market. They knew how to make technology accessible, and most of all, they knew how to play the game. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. That's why 84% of the world's energy is created from fossil fuels. It's also why Tesla died alone and broke.
Crazy.
It's possible that the Great Pyramid suffered some catastrophic event that caused it to stop working. In addition to hydrochloric acid, there are traces of sulfuric acid in the southern shaft. In the northern shaft, there's zinc chloride and ammonium chloride. These chemicals can create hydrogen without being mixed, but if you do combine ammonium chloride with sulfuric acid, you get more than a reaction. You get an explosion. Because of the structure of the pyramid, this explosion could be controlled. But there's evidence that an uncontrolled explosion may have occurred. In 2001, in the Grand Gallery, scorch marks were discovered in the ceiling above where the resonators would have been. In the King's Chamber, cracks have been found in the granite beams. At first, this was thought to be caused by an earthquake, But the damage was only found in areas of the pyramid where the flow of highly compressed, heated hydrogen occurred. The walls in the king's chamber have been pushed out over an inch. It takes a lot of pressure to push tons of granite out that far. The Great Step outside the king's chamber also shows extensive damage like that from an explosion, not an earthquake. Other parts of the interior also show signs of charring. When the southern shaft was discovered, it was coated with salt about an inch thick. This would happen if hydrogen was boiling and bubbling up the shaft. What caused the pyramid power plant to explode is not known, but Christopher Dunn believes it was some sort of cataclysm,
Crazy.
not an earthquake, but maybe an asteroid impact. There's a problem with this theory, though. The ancient Egyptians kept meticulous records of everything. There is no record of an impact during this time. Dunn believes it happened thousands of years earlier. And that brings me to this thought. Skeptics will say if the ancient Egyptians used electricity, there would be documentation, even hard evidence of it. You'll see true believers point to glyphs that look like light bulbs, but I honestly think that's a stretch. There's no evidence the Egyptians worked with glass or any components used to make a light bulb. So why is there no evidence of the use of electricity in ancient Egypt, and no record of electricity being generated by the Great Pyramid? Well, because the ancient Egyptians didn't build it. There really is no debate by mainstream academics about the who, when, why, or how of the Great Pyramid. It was built by ancient Egyptians in 4500 BC as a tomb for Khufu, and that's that. But what if none of that is true? What if the ancient Egyptians didn't build the pyramid, but found it? And when they found it, it had been dormant for years, maybe thousands of years. Graham Hancock is a proponent of the Orion constellation theory. This says the Great Pyramid Complex is almost a perfect match for the stars in the Orion constellation. But they don't line up to where Orion is today. They line up with where Orion was in the sky 13,500 years ago. We've discussed how the builders were obsessed with equinoxes. The Sphinx faces due.
You know what's so fucking crazy too? I'm just gonna yap a little bit because I don't have any viewers. You're like the only viewer. And you seem to be listening, so I'm gonna keep yapping. 13,500 years ago. That year is like fucking rooted in human history. You look in any single religion on planet fucking Earth, there's going to be a great flood. Right? Some godly thing did something to cause a great flood. Right? It's in every single goddamn religion. And only one person survived, only a family survived, only very few people survived. But they rebuilt civilization. Angel, not now. I'm telling a story. But that shit really happened. There's proof everywhere that there was a great flood. That happened. It happened 13,500 years ago. Not only that, but it was something catastrophic. Something naturally that just can't happen. Like, there were great floods everywhere. But not only that, in Antarctica, there's been proof of, like, there's been flash frozen mammoths that were frozen while eating. Like, you know how long it takes to freeze a steak? I can thaw out a steak completely. It takes forever to freeze, man. Fuck. But there were mammoths frozen with apples in their mouths in the middle of eating. That means that it has to be incomprehensibly cold for that to happen. But somehow it happened 13,500 years ago. It's crazy. Oh, yeah. And look at the Sphinx right here. Perfect time to pause it. Look at the Sphinx. Up here, look at how good that looks. And then down here. Whoa. That looks like water erosion.
east. And on the vernal equinox, the constellation that rose due east 13,500 years ago was Leo. Now, I'll concede the astronomical evidence could be a coincidence, but there is hard evidence that these structures are older than originally thought. You can't carbon date limestone, but there are clues that the pyramid and the Sphinx have been there for a long, long time. Robert Schoch from Boston University believes the Sphinx and Giza complex is about 13,500 years old. Giza has been an extremely dry climate since the time of the pharaohs, but the Sphinx shows signs not only of wind and sand erosion, but also extreme water erosion.